The Fortress of Solitude, Superman robots, Brainiac, two-headed deer, Bizarro, and what is going on between Kara and Jimmy? Do we hear wedding bells or Monel? Hi, I'm Cameron Cardell and welcome back to Cold Open Hot Takes, where I break down TV shows, movies, and everything else that we love to nerd out on. Today, we're looking at DC Studios' My Adventures with Superman, the latest in a long line of animated adaptations of the Man of Steel that we all know and love. Season 3, Episode 1, titled Into the New World, starts strong by finally giving us a complete look at this version of the famous Fortress of Solitude, which in this series is actually made by the remains of an unmanned ghost ship that crashed in Antarctica after getting reactivated at the end of Season 1, Episode 10, titled Hearts of the Father. Inside, we get our first look at the Superman robots that remind me a lot of the robots from James Gunn's 2025 Superman. Makes me wonder if one of them will want to be called Gary in the future. If you know, you know. Then we get an emotional scene with Kara bidding farewell to Brainiac, who, even though we hate him to his core, we have to remember that he still did raise Kara after the destruction of Krypton, which she caused, by the way. But even so, for the last 22 years, she was her one and only connection to the home that she never knew. We see Brainiac try to plant seeds of doubt in Kara's mind, claiming that once people realize who she really is, she will be abandoned again, causing her to flee the fortress. And then we get a beautiful scene where we get a 180-degree turn of the sky, which me personally, I think represents Kara's entire world getting turned upside down. But hey, what do I know? I've always been told I'm an overthinker. Later, we move on to the Kent family farm, where we see it's actually Halloween. We get a bunch of adorable shots of everyone in their costumes. We see Ma and Pa as a queen bee in a pot of honey. It's never actually stated she's a queen bee, but I mean, come on, it's Ma Kent, so she's a queen. Jimmy and Kara as Ace Morgans and June Robbins from Jack Kirby's Challengers of the Unknown, a comic book series featuring a group of adventurers who solve bizarre mysteries together. Now, who does that sound like? I couldn't find an actual movie, but it seems like in this universe it was popular enough to get adapted into a movie and possibly a series, since we find out from Kara that her and Jimmy have been watching movies alone. I don't know what's hotter, their relationship or Clark's laser eyes, cause it's getting steamy in here and I know it's not just me. We then get a look at Clark and Lois as Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monsters, which is actually interesting for two reasons. One, because Frankenstein is currently a canon character in the DCU featuring Creature Commandos, another one of James Gunn's projects that he's currently working on. And two, because we soon find out that this episode deals with Bizarro, a Superman clone genetically engineered by Lex Luthor to rival Superman, who is also somebody who appeared in James Gunn's Superman 2025. So it's just a lot of Easter eggs in the first 5 minutes that I wanted to point out. Later, we find out via Lois' dad, who following the events of Season 2, seems to have pretty much landed on his feet again. He states that he's quote-unquote retired, but really it's just him working for the Pentagon in probably a lesser, more comfy position. So it seems he's back in good standing with the government, and maybe Waller as well, but honestly, it's always hard to tell where relationships stand with her. Colonel Lane lets us know that files have been stolen from the Pentagon regarding a biotech research project researching Kryptonian DNA titled Project Caliban. Clark, Lois, Kara, and Jimmy go to check out the facility, and we quickly see something is off when we see a two-headed hybrid deer, which Kara calls a dog. Isn't she adorable? I really hope she gets a happy ending. Not Brainiac. All my homies hate Brainiac. After looking around the lab, we see pods containing failed attempts at DNA splicing, with only one successful pod broken, titled B1V. I wonder who that could be. Shortly after, the gang is attacked by an alien dog Kryptonian hybrid that shoots ice beams. I'm only going to say it's a dog since it seems to be the only animal Kara knows at this point, so I'm following her lead on this one. After retreating further into the lab, we find a botanical garden filled with Kryptonian flora, where we find a grave belonging to Dr. George Otto Bender, and then BAM! We get our first look at Bizarro. He jumps out to defend the grave and then he quickly flees, and man, can I just say I love the design on Bizarro in this show. He looks strong and adorable at the exact same time. He's kind of like the tall kid in class who everybody is like intimidated by, but has a heart of gold and is sweet on the inside. Deeper inside the lab, we see a simulated forest from Earth with signs of a child being raised, and there we get our first look at Dr. Bender, who by my assumption is either the one who made Bizarro or at least one of the head researchers involved in his creation. I think this makes sense since we're going with sort of a rags to riches story for Lex, who has really just started to rise in the world, because at the end of Season 2, we get to see him and Wilson outside of his first official LexCorp headquarters. It makes sense that Bizarro would need to be created by other people, and for one, I'm all for it. We get a recording left by Dr. Bender, who we see actually cared for Bizarro and actually wanted him to be more than just a weapon, much like how Ma and Pa Kent cared for Clark as a child. We then cut to Clark, Jimmy, and Lois, who leave to investigate a voice asking for help, and because they can't hear me screaming at my PC to turn around, they go and investigate anyway, only to find this headless robotic monstrosity. And I don't know about you guys, or maybe it's because I just saw Bathrooms, but I think my tall monster meter is filled for the year. Clark fights the robot, saving Bizarro, and in the process we get to see a beautiful scene of Kara defending Bizarro, claiming that he isn't a weapon because unlike her, he was raised with love and compassion. So shout out Dr. Bender. We love you, Dr. Bender. RIP. We then cut back to Superman fighting a robot who has now activated his self-destruct sequence, and upon exploding knocks out Superman in the process, causing Bizarro to come back and save him, but then run off again to avoid being seen. I love Bizarro in this series. I really hope he gets a good ending like Kara. I hope all of them ride off into the sunset and everybody hugs and it's awesome, and we sort of get a Superman and Lois type ending where everybody's just kind of flying at the end of the series. Just something beautiful. As we wrap up the episode, we get an adorable shot of three kids doing the iconic line, "Is it a bird? A plane? It's Superman!" And we finish things off with some beautiful words from Bizarro's father about how he can change the future if he chooses to do good. We also get a few Easter eggs that you probably missed if you didn't look too hard. We see a sign for Big Belly Burger, Wayne Enterprises, Lex Corp, Cord Industries, and Star Labs. So who knows, maybe we'll get to see Batman, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Green Arrow. I think it's unlikely since the writers have made it pretty clear that they want to focus on Superman and his friends, but I think it's amazing that they could all be kicking around outside in the world somewhere. As a Superman fan, I really love this series and can't wait to see more. Comment down below on your thoughts on the series and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.